I'm Paul Dawson from the Bunya People's Aboriginal Corporation. Bunya People's Aboriginal Corporation, or BPAC, um, we're engaging community around for many years about how traditional custodians wanted to see the management of the mountain play out. One of the key things was about having the space for knowledge sharing, so where elders and young people could re-engage with country, re-engage with their communities, and share the stories of this really important place. So some of the issues we found with that were based on, the tenure. It's mainly, majority of Bunya Mountains is national park, which is good for protections, but also has restrictions on how community can engage in a self-determined way, if you like, for and have control over how they wanted to meet and wanted to share story of place. So based on a lot of this feedback from community, we came the opportunity to invest in a space here in Russell Park, which is managed by the Western Downs Regional Council, to create a space for that sharing of knowledge and learning. So the concept evolved a lot from talks with many people, including Ben. Actually, I think the idea of a bush uni came from some of the interactions Ben had over in WA and what some of the Noongar were developing over there. And BPAC thought that it was really a great application to build a bush uni over here. And the concept of that being an on-country learning place, and the other, like as far as the development of the space goes, was to build in some of that interpretation and story in a creative way through these sculptural elements you'll find on the site.
Hi, my name's Ben Beeden. We're in the Bunya Mountains at the Gene Stream Sculpture. For years, I'd created art on the ecology, geology, and deep time history of natural systems, and I'd also been working on the Gene Streams project. The two were running in tandem, and I never believed that there would come a point where I'd be able to bring all of this together. That was until Arnie Carroll Peterson asked me a question: was there some way that we could bring together the conservation work in an area with work that was being done on the scientific communities and research in the area, as well as the culture of the area. So for years I worked through that problem, how to bring the public artwork together that would address all of those different components in the one sculpture. And it was at that time that I realized that if I created an evolutionary tree of the area where I addressed all of the deep time story of the shared ancestry of species on the base plate of the sculpture, and told the story of the science of the region on the inside of the sculpture and the culture of the region on the outside of the sculpture, it would be a way of bringing that question together, all of those components. So in this sculpture, we see an example of how we bring together the gene streams of species with the ecology, geology, and deep time history of species on the inside of this sculpture that you walk into. A gene streams represents the sum total of the gene pool of a range of species. Gene streams travel across the globe through deep time over hundreds of millions of years, changing into a myriad of species, from ancestral species to descendant species and so on through deep time. That's why I chose the word gene streams to describe this form of public art and this form of science communication.
I'm Marley Moyer. I'm a botanical, scientific and natural history artist, and I love detail. We've chosen 15 species in this artwork which speak to the ecosystem here in the Bunya Mountains. Some are endangered and some are well known. In seeing the bigger picture of the ecosystem, that is what the sculpture is representing. It's made up of smaller parts, and remembering that it's the details that differentiate species from each other. So it's the details that I'm interested in as a scientific illustrator. This is a painting that I painted of a part of a bunya nut. This is the bunya nut down here in a drawing. This is an ovuliferous scale, which is female. This is a sketch of the cone. So you can see these points here. That's that point there. So that green part there is really just a sliver of that particular scale, because it's the green, the outer green part of the cone. The cones are huge. I mean, they're like that. They're like a football. They're very heavy. You know, they can weigh up to 5 kilograms, and they're very dense. And these scales are all packed in really tightly into that ball. So you can imagine how heavy that is when it falls out of the tree. You don't want to be standing underneath bunya pines when they're, you know, when they're dropping their cones.
My name's Shannon Bounds. I'm from Bunya People's Aboriginal Corporation, and we're in the Bunya Mountains right now. And in particular, we're in a little infrastructure footprint that's been designated for us to be able to share some of our culture and story with the wider community. What we're looking at here is the Gene Streams project, and what it does, it describes both Indigenous and Western scientific perspectives on deep time. So it's essentially a time scale in this sculpture, and on the outside, as you can see, there's lots of different Indigenous arts and depicting flora and fauna that exists within this region and on the Bunya Mountains in particular. The inside is from the Western science perspective, and as you can see, it's color coded, which helps when you navigate the space. So this is the second installation that have been installed around the nation in strategic cultural landscape places that have been identified to be quite significant. Going back to the color coordination, this is symbolic. This is the brown, and it's symbolic of where mankind walks into the space. And if you look on the ground, it has the different time periods and where different flora and fauna came into this timeline. And there's a whole great deal of detail, and I've been in here dozens of times, and every single time I come in here I find something new. I really like this piece. It's actually showing a very interesting relationship that occurs in not only rainforest but all forests, and it's something that science is just starting to really get a grasp of. It's depicting the mycelium, that it's a network that spreads throughout underneath the ground, and some people now refer to it as a World Wide Web, which is a bit of a tongue twister, but it's a very interesting relationship that they now learn that via this network that plants can detect threats that may come into the forest and send out a signal warning the rest of the forest. And it also has shown that trees have the ability to identify their young and their grandchildren, etc., and if need be, able to send nutrients via this network. It's a very interesting piece, I think.
Hi, I'm Steve Parrish, and I'm a nature photographer with 56 years, photographing everything from fish to rainforest to deserts to lizards, from the air, underwater, and my driving ambition has always been to connect people to nature. That's the driving force that drives me to get out of bed every morning. It's my passion. But I've never ever had an opportunity to be involved in a physical experience that people can walk through the forest and connect with right here in their heart in a physical way. My work has always been in books, and now it's social media, so they're pictures in books that people buy and connect that way. So this is very, very, very unique. It's globally unique, in fact. This beautiful gene stream sculpture, a physical object that people can walk into and physically touch and see in the natural environment. And here are some of my images. You can see the beautiful wedge-tailed eagle, which is very synonymous with the Bunya Mountains. You see them soaring over the plains. In fact, we've seen them nesting over many years in and around the Bunya Mountains. So that's a wonderful addition. You can see this beautifully blended into this artwork. This is gorgeous artwork. And also the echidna, which is also not endemic, but very synonymous with this particular area. And you'll find them particularly in the open woodland and also in the rainforest. Yeah, so people are now going to be able to go back in time and look at the geology and the connection with Indigenous culture over millennia. So it's a great honour to be involved in this project.
My name is Jason Lawler. Proud lineage back to our old people, as blurry as that becomes into the past. But I definitely have a passion for the philosophy and the way our old people lived with the land and with all the life of the various spaces and countries we occupy. I had the great privilege of being involved in the Bunya People Aboriginal Corporation's Bush University. I know Brother Beaton was here on site with us early in the piece when this endangered grassland bald was being taken over by the acacia, which is how the forest takes back these grassland balds. So the vision of the Bonye peoples was to have a footprint back on the mountain, and so I've done a lot of stonework and representations previously on a much smaller scale, mind you, back towards town through the Gumunjuru Aboriginal Corporation, and this depiction of Dakin, the creator serpent, was directly correlates to the stone arrangements that are at Gumunjuru that were laid there 4,000 to 6,000 years ago by the old fellas.